No. Yes.
Oh, 5 seconds.
Of course we have guests.
We're done. How are you?
Good.
Okay, you guys ready?
I hope we solve the water.
All right.
It's been raining a lot.
No, it's
We
not
had
over
snow
yet.
at headquarters on our way over.
Yeah.
We left snow. Water crisis solved.
It's over then.
Yeah, we answered this all day long. That's what our job is.
Are you going to be disruptive, Ms. Fazia?
Yes.
We have a meeting that we're trying to conduct here.
We're usually doing that ourselves.
You say get invited to our board meeting.
I've been.
We're already disruptive enough. We don't need any outside disruption. Please stand me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Individuals wishing to address the city council are requested to complete a speaker card and deliver it to the city clerk staff prior to the item being heard by the city council. Please observe a 3-minute time limit for communication. And once called upon to speak, please state your name and city of residence for the record. Communications from the public. This portion of the agenda is intended for general public comment on ideas within the council's jurisdiction that are not listed elsewhere on the agenda. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on these items. Please observe a 3-minute time limit for comments. When once called upon to speak, please state your name and city of residence for the record. Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Here, I did not receive any speaker cards.
Okay. Revisions to the agenda. Item 3, the presentation was revised. And agenda number 1, we're gonna solve right here in this room, the water crisis with this presentation by Western Water. Craig
Too
Miller?
much water.
Oh, no, I think that's,
With large checks, but none of us are gonna write, so.
yep. All right, so Craig Miller, the general manager of Western Water, will present this item.
Great, happy to be here. I'm Craig Miller, the general manager at Western. Happy to have Fazia Rizvi, one of our board members, with us today. And then Sarah McDonald is one of my assistant general managers, and she's on our communications side, and she's one of the big drivers behind the coalition. So with that, we have 15 minutes, and I have 30 minutes worth of slides, so I'm gonna rip through this. I'd like to actually leave some time for questions, because that's where people usually enjoy this more. Is it okay if I stand?
Yeah, sure.
So, I don't know, I think better while I'm standing. Okay, so solve the water crisis. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Western, we're gonna talk about solve the water crisis, and then we're gonna talk about a solution. So this isn't just talking about the problem, we actually now have a solution. So slow me down if I'm going too fast, but like I said, I got a lot of slides. So who's Western? So Western, our service area covers about 1 million people. So we are providing either on a retail perspective, we provide water directly to people, or we're also the wholesaler. So if you're gonna buy imported water like Corona does, you buy it through us. We're the Met member agency. So one of our board members sits on Met's board. So we play in big picture water, and we also serve customers. So we're reading meters and doing the same thing you're doing with your water customers. The direct customers we serve is about 100,000 people, but you're one of the 14 agencies that we provide imported water to. There's our service area, it goes from East Vale all the way down to Temecula, formed in 1954, large service area. Here's our board of directors. Governed by a 5-member board of directors. Had a board meeting this morning, went really well. Happy to report. All right, so let's get to solve the water crisis. So what is solve the water crisis? So solve the water crisis is a coalition that was formed by water managers. It was only water agencies that started this. And why? Because as a Met member agency and working on statewide water supply, we don't look good. And when the water managers sit down and talk over coffee, there's a huge amount of concern of the water managers. This is new. You know, our message has been forever. Sarah was brought on 3 years ago, Western. She said, what's our message? I said, we're reliable no matter what. Now the managers are sitting around this summer saying, what do we do if it's not wet this winter? We are in trouble. So we formed this coalition to look into this. What are we gonna do? We have to elevate the issue that California and all Californians need to invest in water infrastructure. We cannot continue to support our economy with the way we're managing water. So that's what formed it. So it's an education campaign. There's public dollars. We can't advocate. We can educate. So we're trying to share with the entire state that we need more water supply. And this is not a drought. It's not a drought. Don't call it a drought. It's a water supply crisis. A drought's a weather thing. Not having enough water supply, that's a man thing, right? We are not adequately developing the water supplies to capture water when it rains like it's doing today on a statewide basis. We need to get to policymakers and thought leaders. You know, we talk a lot about state legislators, but if we don't get to you, we don't have influence on state legislators, we don't have influence on the business community. The water industry is not very powerful at advocating for things. We need business, and we need you to help us out. So that's what we are. We're an education coalition. So tell me more about why it doesn't look good. Okay, 2021, December of 2021, the state water project, which we get our water, all the water that we serve to you, or almost all the water we serve you, you do have a little bit of Colorado River water, is coming out of Lake Oroville. So 95% of the water we serve that's imported is coming out of Lake Oroville. That's Lake Oroville. 2021, it was at one of the lowest levels it's ever been at. Now we got 2023, we're flooding. The system is very erratic. A better slide to or a better picture to show would be in 2017. You remember what happened in 2017? We watched the spillway at Lake Oroville crumbling. It was emergency spillway. So from 2017, wettest year on record, to a zero allocation on the state water project in 2021. In between there was 2019, which was another wet year. So when you look at the statewide water system, full in 2017, full again in 2019, 2 years later in 2021, zero allocation. That is not good investment in our water future. Now what do? So now the story has changed. Well, the drought must be over, but you guys didn't capture the water. Why not? You should have captured more water. Well, how are we supposed to magically capture water when you haven't created enough facilities to capture the water? So the problem is not over. It is a water supply crisis, not a drought. If you look at urban, state water project's supposed to serve about 4 million acre feet. In 2022, it served 200,000. 3.8 million acre feet short of what it should serve to the state. If you look at Southern California alone, we didn't get 1.9 million acre feet out of the state water project. We had to make up for that with other supplies. Luckily, in 2017, Metropolitan did a really good job of socking away water in facilities that Met has built, not the state. So we're living out of Diamond Valley Reservoir, and we have been for 3 years. Can't turn to the Colorado River. Metropolitan has had this great flexibility to go to the state system, go to the Colorado River system to meet our demands. So the Bureau of Rec, who manages the Colorado River water system, said you got to cut 2 million to 4 million acre feet out of your demands. Metropolitan, you're part of the 7-state pact that does that. You all got to get together and cut. So we're not shifting state demands onto the Colorado River system. So I always hear, well, Craig, why don't you guys do desal? Just bite the bullet and do desal. Well, here was our big effort. Huntington Beach, desal, 10 years, worked on that, invested millions of dollars. And in August, the California Coastal Commission voted 11-0. That project's dead. So can't do desal. Recycled water, we're awesome at recycled water. Corona's awesome at recycled water. We're fully recycled in our watershed. We're just arguing about who gets it first. But there's no more sewage to make a big difference in water supply with recycling. So my number, this is Craig doing his calculation, this state needs about 20 million acre feet of new water supply. We're not ag, but our coalition is full of ag people because ag and urban have the exact same argument here. They're supposed to get their imported water from the Central Valley Project or the State Water Project. 0% allocation on the state or on the Central Valley Project, that's federal, out of Shasta. 5%, so they're in trouble. Ag's in trouble. So they got about 1.7 billion in losses, 14,000 jobs, 400,000 acres of land is unplanted. And food security is important to them, important to us. I like to eat. So what are we doing? And with climate change, food security is gonna be an international issue, not a California issue, an international issue. So this is important. So we're not an ag agency. Ag agencies are in this coalition because something needs to improve. So what's the state doing? So you've heard the state, well, we need voluntary conservation. That's what'll fix this. You run the numbers, not even close. You know, they're asking for urban conservation, so you and your residents are supposed to be conserving 15 to 20%. If you add up all the conservation in the entire state with 40 million residents, it's like 1.2 million acre feet if it was perfect. We're 20 million short. So conservation will never get us there. We gotta do it, we gotta be efficient with water, but that's not the answer. The state continues to push environmental regulations on us, which means less water gets moved from Northern California to Southern California, so we gotta make up for that now. And then they've said, well, you guys need to focus on more water supply development as locals. Well, we're worried, we're working in legally adjudicated basins. It's not like we can just put a new well in. You know, we have to get water rights, they're not there. So local water supply is not happening in Western service area, except in a limited amount. So we have to have imported water. PPIC did a poll. This isn't just water guys talking about this. The public, 70% don't feel that government is doing enough to combat the drought. I would say combat water supply problems. So it's an education effort. It's focused on policymakers. We gotta spread the education, and we have to create an environment for legislative success. This is where we are now. So we still need the education campaign. Corona's been a huge supporter. You're a member of it, and we need your help like we need all the other members' help. You're there. You're part of the board members. Tom Moody has been very helpful in this. This is where we've really pushed in the last few months. It's supporters. So that list is actually over 100 entities now. So what are they? So they are people that we want their voice. They're not paying the fees to develop the program, but they're advocating for where we want to go, and they're supporters of the program. So we're getting a lot of momentum. We've only been doing this since last April. So this is a lot of progress since then. Okay, so what I've been talking about for a year is we have to educate. What's happening now, and everyone asks me when I do this presentation, well, what are you gonna do? What are we gonna do? Which project do we build? So we've stepped back, and this is a collaborative effort with that group of general managers plus others. We said, what is the solution? We failed at this for 4 decades. What's gonna move the needle? What's gonna change? And so we've come together and we decided we need a target. So California needs to establish a water planning target out in the future. And then we need a path to get there. So SB 366 is being carried by CMUA, California Municipal Utilities Association. Senator Caballero is the author. And the legislation is gonna set a 2050 target for water supply development, and then it's gonna require that DWR be tasked with developing a list of projects, a financing plan for those projects, and make regular updates to the legislature as to the project to get to the long-term target. So this is where we are. We're gonna do this by also modernizing the California Water Plan. There's a lot of elements in there that are not getting projects developed, and they don't have a long-term goal. So establish a target, fix up the California Water Plan, and then get support to get this done. So that's it. So despite great local efforts, all of us in our service area run great water systems. We've done fabulous things locally, but this whole system was built as a collaborative system with imported water from Colorado River, imported water from Northern California, and all of our local groundwater resources. So we've done a great job locally. We can't turn our back on the statewide water system. So we need support and we need engagement. And so I just want to say I'm really supportive of everything that you've done. You've been a great partner. Tom and Katie have been great partners all along. You've been very supportive. But the next step is this legislative effort. So as a public official, I'm not allowed to tell you how to advocate for it or what to advocate. But I can tell you can go to CMUA and you can research it. You can talk to Senator Caballero's office. I'm gonna bring back a potential support measure to our board at the next board meeting. But we have to dig into this, and I hope you'll do the same. So with that, I'm done. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you. I think we'll start at the table there. Did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I saw the longer version of this presentation back in, I wanna say November, and it's eye-opening. I walked out of there just really shocked, and I appreciate you guys taking the mantle on to push this forward, and happy that we're a supporter and looking forward to any other way that we can support. I mean, I know I shared your the video that you guys produced as part of that. I shared, and I did a lot of interaction with and arguments with people, but it was able to kind of lead them into, you know, the knee-jerk reaction is, well, the state's not doing anything, and why are you? And it's like, well, did you watch the video? Did you look at that? So it was able to do a little bit more of that, and I'm you know, happy to do whatever we can do to help push this forward. Is really, really
You
important.
have great collateral. If you go on the Solve the Water Crisis website, that is created for all of you to use all of that collateral as you go out and talk about this. So I invite you to do that, and we're happy to help out any way we can.
Yeah, it's been great.
What is that website?
Solve the water.
Solve the Water Crisis.
.com.
.com.
And as Craig mentioned, we're developing a campaign around that legislative solution. And so in the future, you can see a full campaign under California Water for All. And so we'll be mobilizing around that as well, and certainly share those resources as we need your engagement specifically with our local state delegations.
And, you know, I hate the business side of it, but, you know, we had to raise funds to start Solve the Water Crisis. All this collateral costs money, right? It's the same thing for the legislation. So I've sent out a request for all the Solve the Water Crisis board members to participate in the PR campaign for the legislation also. So you've already received that. Tom and Katie have that.
Great. Yeah, nothing else.
And yet the state's asking us to build 2.5 million more homes. Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
No, and they ask us to approve water supply assessments, and, you know, that's not gonna work, right? I mean, we can't recommend to city councils and to our board, if we don't have confidence we can provide water for the next 30 years, we can't approve those. So the building community is behind this, not vocal enough though.
Does SB 366 come with an ask of the state government for funding? Is there a so it's just
This is a planning legislation. This is so frustrated as you know, the leader of an organization that all we do is plan.
No, I understand.
And so we're forcing the planning. So it's a really good question, because people have said, well, this is an unfunded mandate that's coming our way. And it's not, because the mix of projects to develop the 20 million acre feet of new water supply is not the state has to develop 20 million. The entire state needs more water supply. We're not saying state, you're gonna fund that, but the state needs to be the planning center for doing it. So Corona will have projects in there, just like Western will have projects. We'll fund our share of those projects as we've had. But as you know, the state comes out with buckets of money to offset the cost for project development. Well, let's focus those buckets of money on a target. So we're just not kind of doing this shotgun blast.
Understood.
So I fully expect that it's gonna be a local cost share for the projects that benefit you locally.
Thank you.
Is the drought over?
I think the drought's over. So the state has upped their allocation to 35%. They're not even accounting for snowpack, which is enormous this year.
I think one of the things that you made clear in the presentation did in November, which I think really hit home with me, was that it's not like it fills up a big bathtub and then we kind of go off the bathtub, right? It's what's ever there gets pushed down, and if there's nothing there, nothing gets pushed down. And so without having more bathtubs, then you don't have it. So it's not like, even though the drought's over today, if it doesn't rain for the next 2 years, we're gonna be in the same boat again, because we're not storing any of the water storing more of the water.
We don't have adequate storage.
Storage.
And that's a huge problem. So your question is a really good one, because the water industry has been continuing to message that the drought's not over. Why is that? Well, as you went through a super wet December, a really wet January, all of that rain into the 6 major reservoirs of the state did not even get them back to an average level of water supply. So you track and all that rain, we're still below average. Now we've caught up. And now what's gonna happen is DWR is actually doing their snowpack measurement today, theoretically. And so they're gonna calculate in snow melt and runoff throughout the summer. And I think what you're gonna see is they're gonna say, all right, things are looking better finally. But we haven't built new stories since 1970.
Well, that's, the reason I ask is I think everybody in this room and everybody outside this room knows that we need more storage, right? Except for the people of the state. And they don't tend to do anything until it hits the fan. So they're up there I'm guessing they're up there saying, oh, drought's over, so the impact of this wet year is hurting your cause, right?
Yes.
So that's
Exceptionally. So we're trying to say it hit the fan.
Right.
And, but a lot of people say, well, wait till it really does. We were really close this year. There were 6 million people in the western side of Met's service area that had 1 day a week outdoor watering mandates. We didn't have that because we're living off of Diamond Valley. But you go to Calabasas and Malibu, they had, Las Virgenes Water District had their water supply cut back by 73% this year because of the 5% allocation on the state. They were putting water restrictors in people's houses. So you didn't hear about that down here. You didn't hear about that on Eyewitness News. That's the reality of what's happening on water. In our mind, it was a total failure as water managers, and something needs to happen. Before the whole state has that happening to them, why wait?
Yeah, I agree, and I stand with the previous three. I'm with you guys.
We would appreciate your support.
It's very interesting. My godfather lives in Northern California on 40 acres of walnut groves. And my entire life, he's been telling me the water wars are coming because Southern California keeps stealing Northern California's water. Those are his words. But I've also spent a lot of time in the Central Valley, and there's a number that I couldn't Google fast enough, but it produces a very high percentage of the world's food in the Central Valley. So I'm glad to see that ag and the water managers are kind of coming together on this, because the problem seems to be is that drought is the buzzword that everybody is wanting to know about, and the real buzzword should be the water crisis because of storage. Who cares about the drought? Let's talk about storage. So that's very interesting. Just out of curiosity, you said that the Coastal Commission denied the desal plant, and why?
Well, I'm not on the Coastal Commission, so I'm not in the discussions. But there were several reasons. So it's a big plant. They didn't like that. There's always a pushback on the environmental impacts of intake of biological species into the intakes. There's the view of it from the coastal side. I think in the Huntington Beach case, I've heard them say that, well, we thought that there were private entities involved in the desal project, which I guess they didn't like. To me, why do we have that rule? If we can afford the water and there's a private entity that's helping us do that, I don't know, that's our decision to make as the customers. So now, since then, they have approved the Doheny ocean desal plant, but it's not a 50,000 acre foot plant, it's a 3,000 acre foot plant. So I think that was really safe to approve. It's a little tiny thing, it's over in Doheny, it has subsurface ocean water intakes, so all the species don't get taken in. So I think that was a really safe approval for them. Where Doheny was controversial. Huntington Beach was controversial.
And is that the first desal plant that we have in the state?
No.
No.
Carlsbad has a 50,000 acre foot one in Carlsbad.
All right. Well,
You worked on it.
That's, I worked there.
we certainly want to support any which way that we can, including leveraging our state partners and state lobbyist groups. So we will continue the conversation with, as Ms. Rizvi says, Western.
He almost makes it.
So,
The only way that we're gonna be successful is if we kind of have this viral movement.
Mhm.
It has to be all the city councils, it has to be all of our associations. And this is a motherhood and apple pie message. You know, we're the 5th largest economy in the world, and in 2021, the state was out of water.
Yeah.
That that is not where we want to be as a state in my mind.
And it's wrapped up with so many other things, food insecurities and housing crisis, and they all go hand in hand, so.
And businesses
Maybe
leaving
League
the
of Cities
state.
can help.
Yeah.
Good boy.
Do we know anybody on the League of Cities? Okay, Ms. Edwards, are there any speaker cards from the public?
Mayor, I do not have any speaker cards.
Okay, this was a receive and file for Western Water's Solve the Water Crisis presentation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your
Thank
time, I
you.
really appreciate it.
All right, let's see.
Are we?
Do we want to save the park for the last? Do we want to, guys, do we want to end on the park?
I don't know if we have our FDev folks here yet.
Okay, then,
They were planning on the park.
okay, fair enough. I don't even know if this is gonna be a hotly contested or even followed item. Let's see. All right, so we have a city park master plan update with RJM. Moses there he is. Without your hat, I didn't recognize you. Moses,
Fictitious hat.
yeah, yeah.
Never wear the hat.
Moses,
Do it. Don't give it.
in my mind, I always see you with the hat.
Look at the kids.
Moses Cortez, Facilities, Parks and Trails Manager, will present this item.
Alrighty, ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for the time. Wanted to come back to you guys with a presentation on the city park master plan. We've done a lot of groundwork and really are pretty far down the road on this. And really excited to share with you guys. So we're actually got some stuff for you guys today to make some decisions on. So I hope you guys are ready.
Hope you're
Before I get
ready.
into it.
We got lots of opinions.
Well, yeah, that's what we're here for. Answer questions. I know I'm gonna leave some stuff out. It's all in my head right now, so I'm gonna just like, let's try and get it all out, but, it's gonna be a really cool project, so. So I will get into it and stop babbling. And so, I'm sorry, like the camera's just tripping me out. So today the ask is the city council review and provide direction on key components of the city park master plan. So we're gonna ask you some direction on our 3 anchor amenities within the facility. Sitting next to me is Zach from RGM, our consultants. I think you guys have heard a presentation from them in the past. Again, just to kind of piggyback on what I mentioned before, RGM has been nothing but great. I mean, they've exceeded my expectations. I'm not just saying, I could see them next to me. They truly have been amazing. They've been so accommodating. I mean, I call up Zach at the end of the day. I'm like, I need this, and boom, they're on it. I mean, they've been nothing but great. So with that, I'm gonna turn the presentation over to Zach to go through a few of them, and I'll be back in a minute.
Thank you very much, Moses. You know, and it's a pleasure to work with such an amazing team. So it's not just, I appreciate the kudos there, Moses. It's not just our team, it's working with staff. You guys have an amazing staff, top notch. Anytime we've asked for something, it's there before I can even get to my staff. So I'm trying to keep up with them, which is really great. Today, we're talking about probably one of the more exciting projects I'm a part of right now. It's exciting because recreation, it's learning to ride a bike. It's having a first birthday in a park. It's a quinceañera. It's a history. It's what we remember when we grow up. City Park has that history and it has the ability to transform, because of its location here, really the community and the entire region. Not just because of the amenities in it, but because of its location and that rich history. So when we talk about recreation, that's what City Park means to me. I'm gonna go over some of those amenities today, the purpose of the timeline, the draft conceptual plans, some of the project planning that we've done to date. I want to share some of those items. Specifically, as Moses mentioned earlier, the aquatics, an all-wheeled plaza, and some of the buildings to get your input on as we go through in order for us to continue the next steps. Project purpose, really, revitalize City Park with new facilities and amenities that meets the needs of a wide range of users to create community where everyone can thrive. It's a nice succinct sentence, but it's those memories. It's bringing that rich culture and history to life of City Park for the future generations to come, putting it on the map. Our project timeline started with our analysis. We went and walked the park several times. We looked at all the trees. We collected survey information, saw what's there, what condition it's in right now, what might be there in the future, what's being changed as we go through it. We looked at everything that's underground as well as above ground, so we know what the lay of the land is, so to speak. And then working with city staff, we went through and collected a great amount of actually community outreach, which kind of surprised me too. The amount of data collection that came in gave us a wealth of resources to figure out what is needed in this park? What is the community looking for? We'll talk about that as well. And then what we did right now, where we are in our current stages of the master planning process, where we have some preliminary plan elements that have started to take shape. And I want to share those with you, get your idea on them. But first, the community voice, which really drove it. Moses?
Yeah, thank you, Zach. So just to kind of piggyback on that, community outreach that our department did was amazing. The team, I can't even like put into words how much time and effort they put into this. So they did everything from door knocking, they did an outreach video with help communications. We were out there, we did mailers, we had a pop-up event. I mean, it's just, and we kept going out there over and over. It wasn't just like a one-time deal. We made sure if we didn't get a hold of those people, we went back and knocked, we went back and tried to make contact with them. Justin helped us with the survey that we had online, and we got about a little over 2,000 results. And it was really nice. We were able to see where those results came in from. And we have that up there, so you're able to see how many people we got from within the 1 mile radius, the 2 mile radius, and 3 mile radius. We want to really make sure that we are hearing the right voices. And it was just really great because this is truly going to be a community-driven project. So that was fun.
Is that 1 mile, so does the 1 to 2 miles, that is not counting the base 150? Or is it 150 plus?
Those are separate.
Separate,
Okay.
thank you.
Sorry.
That one slide does not do the justice of all the spreadsheets and charts and analysis that we saw when we were looking at the different lenses of what the community was saying, where they were saying it, and really a tremendous job. And that's what gave a lot of life to these options as we go through the plans, as we go through the different elements, really community driven, and that's what makes this even more exciting. I want to share with you just a little bit of that professional analysis that we did, that background research, where all the utilities are coming in through Quarry Street, Grand Boulevard. What's the surrounding landscape of the park itself? What are the views into the park? What are the existing conditions that we have to be aware of in order to do a park redevelopment? When you have,
I'm sorry, before we move too forward, I just want to make sure I understand. The survey responses within the 1 mile, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, we're about 1,000 responses short when you add those up. So those are,
Outside of the 3 mile radius.
do you have demographics on how far, like are people from Riverside chiming in or
These are Corona residents.
all Corona residents? Okay, thank you, thank you.
I wish we could actually go through all those slides because they were tremendous. I could do this all day long. It's exciting because they go through all the demographics and really there's a lot of information. And to continue on too, we take that same level of care and information collection when we look at an existing site. What is there? What is the care that we need to have in preserving the history of the site so that way we can continue it for generations to come as we move forward. We look at that background information, and then we share it with staff. And we get together and we had a workshop where we started to lay markers on the plan and overlay different elements through several different iterations of what is there, what needs to be preserved. We moved things around the map, what fit, what didn't fit, what their relationships were, so we could test everything. Why does parking need to be here? Why does an aquatics component need to be here? What does an aquatics component mean? That's something we're going to ask in just a little bit. But we go through all that. We look at what are the views into the street? How can we program security through environmental design onto the site? What does it mean to have a visible corridor throughout the entire site? And then the idea of the community canvas came up. That dynamic component that means something today, tomorrow, and in 10 years. To be able to program this park based on the community needs of the time. Different programs can happen within this community canvas that really can transform to the needs of the community. So it's purposeful driven design, but flexible for the future. We took that first few passes together and we came back, met again, and we started to talk about different elements, what some of these definitions were for buildings. Definition of skate spots, skate parks, all-wheeled plazas, a grand corridor. What do these things mean? What are the pathways? What are the programming components? So as we kind of poked at everything, flipped it, turned it, looked at it in a different light, with staff, we continued our charrettes to continue just to sketch and draw and do these overlays. And ultimately, stuff started to take shape. These amoebas became a little bit more focused, and we could see where parking needed to fall, where playgrounds needed to fall on the plan, and how the relationship of a person going to visit the park, what their experience was, getting out of their car with their coolers, with their kids, going to a program in a building, going to an aquatics facility, going to a playground. Everything started to take shape, and how as the park transforms, we started to refine it a little bit more. Now, we're still at the very early stages of planning, but as these layers start to unfold, here we're at the position now where we need input, we need feedback, because there's key areas of this plan, such as the aquatics, skate plaza, stage, building components, as well as splash pad and iconic playground elements that we want to ask you about. The big three today are really the aquatics, the buildings, and the skate plaza that we're going to be looking for input on. Now, the aquatics component, which is on the left-hand side of the screen here. I'm going to narrow in on this, and when we talk about these options, we started to ask ourselves, what are aquatic components? Now, I know it says basic up there for option A, but I have to range everything. And in my world, everything is within a range or a scale. These are all at the top of the range. These are all elite facilities that can support competition swim, recreation swim, possibly the next future Olympian coming out of this area. So those are the things I look at. So I don't want anybody to get dissuaded by basic. It's not basic. It's just simply the beginning. Option A, a 10,000 square foot aquatic facility with competition, recreation, swim amenities, diving area, bleacher seating, shade structures, outdoor facility. Option B is an indoor facility, taking that same option A elements, moving it indoor. Option C starts to add more elements into it, where we look at a 10,000 square foot aquatic facility, but we add in activity pools, water slides, additional spa and sauna elements within this facility, so that way we really maximize that kind of aquatic recreation component. And then option D adds everything back in there into an indoor facility and adds an extra flow rider to it. A flow rider is another aquatic amenity where you can actually boogie board on a wave. Very fun stuff. These are just the options illustrated here closer up. You can see on the left-hand side some images of what these elements look at. Option A with the recreation pool component, the diving areas, comes in around 12 million. Now, these numbers are master plan level numbers. As we move in through design development, we refine all these things. But at RJM, we've been doing projects for over 35 years, 20 years of my career. And as we have projects coming around, construction elements, we keep all these numbers. So that way we have a database of what things cost today, and we can help project them. So these are master plan numbers, but they're based in reality of the current construction industry, of current supply lines that we're seeing, current labor prices that we're seeing. But they are master plan element numbers. I want to say we're 20,000 feet above the ground looking down now. Option B takes that first option, moves it indoor. You can see some representative images there on the left. That comes in around 27 million. Option C, now here's where you see that pool start to take shape. When we do these overlays, we draw additional components in there. You see the water slide, you see the activity pool, a lot more aquatic components happening in on this pool deck, along with the spa and the sauna attached to the building. This comes in at 15.5 million. And there's some representative images on the left there. You can actually see a lazy river on the bottom left-hand side, kind of built in there where kids can run around and play in. And then option D takes all of that and slides it indoors on an indoor facility with the addition of a flow rider, this one coming in around $31.5 million.
All right, so this is my turn. So I'm gonna be the game show host that goes over all your options, and this is where.
Are we gonna do the three decisions? Do you wanna do them one at a time?
So yeah, so this is where we're gonna get into the aquatics one. Ask for some direction from you guys on this. So you guys ready? So just to kind of summarize what Zach had mentioned. So you have option A, I know we're calling her a basic, a kind of entry-level pool. Again, it does suit both recreational competitive needs. It has the lowest cost. However, the cons are it's outdoor. You do have limited parking, and it provides fewer amenities than C or D, and wouldn't really allow for some of the programming that we'd like to do with some of our partners, such as the YMCA. Option B is essentially A. However, the price almost doubles just to put a roof over that pool. And we are in Southern California, so most of the time, except for today when it's snowing, you can use the pool. And we do heat our pools, and as we get further down the road, we'll look into, how we can be cost effective with heating that pool, solar and some other sustainable items that we'd be looking for.
But you would heat it year round?
We do, currently we heat our pool year round. Right now we don't have an Auburndale pool, but we did work with the sports leagues because they swim all year. We do heat it. Option C is outdoor, and the nice thing about option C is you get a lot of amenities for about $3.5 million more than A. You all of a sudden add the activity pool at the lazy river. You're gonna get some water slides, you get spray features, you get a shallow waiting area where maybe, perhaps like a mom's teaching her kid to do some beginning swim lessons, and it's just a really nice flexible space. You're gonna get a spa as well, and also a sauna. So anything after practice, you've got some user groups that need to use a sauna, just decompress, you can use that. This will also allow us to do open pool season during summer, so those kids, or just the community in general that wants to use the pool. During summer. They can go down and use this. I mean, this is gonna be a great amenity, something that we've never had anything like this before, so this would be really great. The only thing that this doesn't have is it doesn't include the flow rider. And then option D is again falling back, essentially option C with a roof over it. And it does include the flow rider, however, it does kick that price up, it basically doubles it, you're almost at 32 million to build that option. So with that, I'm gonna turn this over to you guys to make some decisions.
Wes?
Direction, they won't make any
Yeah,
final
sorry.
direction, but you're just
Yeah,
gonna give us
that's
some
right.
direction.
I love it. I think that I have some issues with the indoor stuff just because, like you said, it's heated. And thank you for mentioning solar. I've just heard of a recent group that heats a pool indoor, and they have an outdoor pool. Their cost because of gas prices went from $3,500 a month to almost $14,000 a month. So I 100% like the outdoor option, but with solar, I think the outdoor aquatic sea is the kind of the one I'm leaning toward. I think that offers a lot of really great amenities and really kind of puts the attention back to really the history part of this, looking at what the plunge was and what it meant to the community back then was really a place for people that didn't have a pool that wanted to go and recreate somewhere and have the education part and be able to learn how to swim. And I can't tell you how many people have told me that they learned how to swim at the plunge, years and years ago, and even not that long ago. So I'm 100% for option C.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, if I had $31.5 million, I'd do option D, so I don't know how we would ever be able to afford paying for that. So is that even realistic? Option C does seem to be the most realistic. I am interested in hearing a recommendation from our Parks and Rec department and our Parks and Rec commission though, because they've seen how the programming works and they listen, firsthand comments from the public on what they'd like and not like. So I really would like to hear their opinion, but option C seems reasonable.
We'll get to them. Promise.
Can't wait. And I may change my opinion if I hear something different.
I'm so excited that we're talking about this today. When I think about, the reasons why, and I'm not trying to get emotional or all that, but when I think about the reason, why I ran to represent my city, this is the kind of stuff that, really tugs at my heart. This is the big stuff, right? This is the legacy pieces. I put it right up there with the 262 acres skyline. 292. Don't cut off the 30 acres. And the 166 million pension obligation bond restructuring. I put it right up there. It's going to be one of those massive accomplishments, and it will transform our city and our community, and especially the downtown. And I know that we think about the mall as this catalyst, but in my opinion, I think it's going to be this park that's going to be our catalyst for downtown. And I'm so excited. I played here when I was a kid, and it's just to be able to bring that park back to where it should be is going to be incredible.
It's gonna be fun.
And for those reasons, I want to go big. I want to go real big. I want an indoor aquatic center, and I recognize that it is very expensive. But so here are some questions and some thoughts. I wonder if this big project is going to require a lot of hands-on management, and I think the world of you, Moses, but I also know that you've got a lot going on. And for the same reasons that we brought on a project management firm for McKinley grade separation, I would want something similar for this big
And we just-
project.
We talked about having a construction management on this.
Wonderful.
Take the pressure off you.
They would take the pressure off. They would also ideally, hopefully, help find us some savings along the way, and maybe some grant applications and some outside monies. I'd be curious to know who's going to manage the center when it's all said and done. Would it be us staffing? Would it be our partners in the community?
So we would program the facility. We'd also work with the YMCA, who runs our aquatics now, and work with them on expanding our aquatics to more than what I mean, right now we're very limited because we only have Auburndale.
Yeah.
So City Park is down right now. But that would open up a world of, opportunities for a whole range of classes. I mean,
Agreed.
I just can't even start thinking.
So it would be like we'd partner with our community partners to essentially do the programming and.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've talked about, I guess I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but this campus will be it's not going to be like a stagnant campus where you just have at 5 o'clock everybody shows up and does swim lessons and then everybody leaves and the park's kind of empty.
Yeah.
Or we want, this park will be like the epicenter. It'll be a destination for folks to come, not just, you'll have the people that live around the park that will come, but there'll also be folks, coming down to watch a concert. There'll be
Exactly.
food truck fest. The park will always be programmed 7 days a week. There'll be something going on, and it will be like our destination marquee park.
Which is why I want an indoor aquatic center.
Let's
Because
see what the other price tags.
I know, I understand.
We only got one
but
part.
I've got one more thing to add. The reason why I want it, anyway, it will draw folks from outside.
It will.
From outside our city to come into this amazing indoor aquatic center. So my last, again, I'm making my pitch for option D, but lastly, is there a way to design the aquatic center so that it can be phased? So because I think we're gonna come into some money, the city of Corona, and I think we're gonna have a great city manager who's gonna keep us on the straight and narrow. Financially, we're gonna be all right. And, I would love to have a situation where,
You wanna just write the check?
I know, just right now. Anyway, that Jim Carrey story where he wrote himself $1 million. Anyway, so I think we're gonna be in a better situation, or we don't know what options we're gonna have ahead of us, and this is a multi-year project. Is there a way to design it so that we get the outdoor aquatic center, but we can do a reassessment maybe 2 years in, or however we're going, and then we can build we can house it as an indoor if we do end up having the money for it?
It'll never
I'm
happen.
not a construction manager, so I'm gonna speak.
Is there
first
any
and
way?
then correct it, but
There's
not
no way.
really. If you're gonna build all of your amenities in and then you wanna
Yes.
turn it into a construction zone again, I think you're gonna find it less cost effective than if you just did it while you're.
From the
under
beginning.
construction.
All right, well then I'm all in for option D.
She baited me into saying that.
Okay, that's it from me.
How much does the Flow Rider, sounds like a name of a person, how much does Flow Rider cost?
I'm gonna look at my assistant here, Mr. Tyler, who is actually the keeper of all the keys and the numbers and the line items. When we do our master plan cost estimates, as I mentioned, they go back through all of the things we're building right now. And I'm not a contractor, but we design a lot of stuff. So we keep all the numbers that are coming in. Our last Flow Rider element was
1.3 million.
Oh, so that's not the big jump. So,
That's the building that's
the building,
expensive.
that's the cost.
but you're, in all three options, you have the building at 10,000 square feet. So is it really the
Canopy
building?
of the footprint grows as we grow with the extra deck space.
So really, option D is gonna be bigger than 10,000 square feet, right?
That's just the building, but the actual deck housing is all enclosed then. I'll go back one. It's not just the building there on the left, but it's actually all the, it's kind of hard to see. Do I have a laser? I'll use the old school laser that I grew up with. This is all enclosed as well too, not just the 10,000 square foot facility. This houses all the required stuff such as the changing rooms, pump equipment, chem storage. But you can see here, all of the playground equipment, everything is inside that housed facility. Now there's several different options that we can do with enclosing that space as well, but you can see it's encapsulating much, much more than just that 10,000.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
I thought it was gonna be the flow rider that was the big cost. Apparently not. The splash pad, we don't have to use this design, right? That was just.
These are master plans, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could use the new Corona logo for that design? And then, Audrey's over there wondering where her YMCA is gonna go. Have you guys figured that out, or
Those are some discussions we'll have, we'll bring them into it once we get further down the road.
you're not gonna be smiling anymore, Audrey? Okay, I'm with Jackie. I think this is where you go big. I know they have one of these in Washington County in St. George, and moms love it, and moms take their kids. In fact, I know my wife has gone out of her way to drive to Utah to go to one of these, and these will fill up, and they'll be very popular. And I'm guessing you, if I asked you, you'd say they're very popular, right? Yeah. Yeah, so I think this is a good step forward. I'm option D.
Well, I love your enthusiasm, folks. My problem with an indoor facility is that I've been to some indoor facilities, and one of the biggest issues is the environment inside an indoor facility. And when you have a glass building, let's just say, and you have 100+ degree weather for the majority of the year, it's not a very fun experience inside there, number one. And number two, I've never seen a flow rider that is always working. There are flow riders that are mostly down for repair. And even though it's only a $1.3 million option, it's gonna double very quickly when we start talking about maintenance and upkeep. And then looking at the different options, I personally would not enjoy an indoor facility in summertime in Corona. I don't think it would be a whole lot of fun. I think it would be very hot and very humid in there. And there's very few things that I like or that I hate more than hot and humid. So I'm not an indoor fan at all. I think that we could make this a beautiful outdoor facility that has the ability to be used 365 days of the year as well. So I'm on option C because I think that that's the biggest bang for the buck for us. And I've read ahead as well, so I understand all of the costs on this. And I think that the Aquatic Center would best serve our community at option C. But like Councilmember Steiner said, I always reserve the right to change my mind. So I would like to hear from our two representatives from Parks and Recs and kind of get their input on what they see and what they hear. So
Real quick though, will it be climate controlled? Do you think that today's technology that it wouldn't be like a steam room inside?
They are, and I can tell you from personal experience that there's a air conditioning system called Desert Air, and it's a dehumidifier, but it breaks a lot.
Yeah.
And when it does, it creates a tsunami effect that there's water everywhere. And I know that facility has actually had people trip, and they had to close it. And so it's not perfect. It's just, to me, it's like if you take the mechanical stuff out as much as possible, you have less things that'll go wrong and less maintenance. So
yeah. I think there's a lot of upkeep on an indoor facility that will add a lot of extra cost on top of the doubling the price of the actual facility. So, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, thank you so much. Great presentation. And but several questions had come to mind from yesterday and today, just kind of looking at overall analysis. I like all elements of all four different layouts. Yeah, but one of the things I have thoughts about are parking and traffic generated from lack of parking. I think all four designs have need more traffic analysis studies being done. It may have been done already. But more importantly, is parking. The status of this park is really not a neighborhood park. It's not really a community park. It's more regional and above that, those other two venue types and styles. So I think we're going to attract, as mentioned earlier by Jackie, that we're going to have people from outside Corona coming to the park site itself. And with that being said, I believe people will be parking along the streets, 6th Street, Grand, Powell, and then Corey also. that's gonna anger the people who live there and people who travel east and west along, Sixth Street too. They'll be parking at the Elks Lodge, most likely. So then, because the major draw then will be, for 172 parking spaces for the aquatics, will be focused on those, small amount of parking spaces geared for the aquatic center. That's gonna be a major draw, whether you go A, B, C, or D. And I'm leaning towards C to begin with. I like the outdoor experience where the visual is being an attractive plus when you see these water slides from a distance. That'd be a major plus. Whereas the indoor is gonna be totally encapsulated and it'll be only seen from people within that area alone. That being said, parking, I think, needs to be looked at more precisely, and then traffic patterns created for people who can't find parking spaces. And then, since you're taking away that many spaces for aquatics, you only have the balance of, you only have 340 some odd spaces for the whole park, if you add them all together. So people will be looking for spaces to go to to do the quarter-mile walk, or that's gonna be soccer or outdoor visible space and a concert venue. And so, then for the community building, you only have really no spaces after you've taken away spaces for the aquatic center. So I think parking analysis needs to be done in all 4 cases, and traffic analysis too. I'm really favoring the option C. I know parks I've done in the past, we've had to do major parking analysis and traffic patterns and the whys and wherefores come to fruition when you see the validity behind having those in advance before you make a final decision. So.
Ms. Wentworth.
Well, first I just wanna make sure that you all know that this has not come to the Parks Commission for discussion yet, so this isn't, we are not representing, I can't say what my peers think, I can only tell you what I think. Couple of things, we're looking at this park as an economic driver for the city. So if you're looking at your options for the pool, I don't see a nice combination of the ability to have the small water park and play area combined with enough lanes for swimming so that you can have aquatic swimming competitions and draw around from the regional area. I've been to pools that have that. They're partnered with the YMCA for lessons, and they'll have 6 or more long swim lanes. Plus, attached to that pool is the shallow area with all the play equipment, just the slides are there, the diving equipment, everything is there. It's all in one footprint. I see you broke it up here, so I guess my question would be, drill down into the details of what our footprint can be, what can we actually build. I don't actually like any of the options. I think that together we can make a great option, but I don't see an option here that hits me, that fits the need, which is we have a community of a lot of families with a lot of kids and a huge pressure on our high schools to use their pools, and a lot of complaints about the fact that we just don't have anywhere to swim for the kids. Plus, the high schools are looking for swimmers, right? It's all your community sports just build up to the ability to play in high school. So we're not feeding that circuit if we just go with the aquatics playground type of thing. So I'm not seeing a combination here that I would like to see. So my vision, like on option A, the basic outdoor pool, you can see the lanes for swimming, and then you see a nice shallow pool in that example, in that image. My experience with other pools, and I'm just gonna say, and again, I go back to Las Vegas and Henderson because they have the funding and they do it differently. That shallow pool, part of that would be taken up with the play equipment and a runaround area for toddlers and all that kind of stuff, and they would have slides as well. And the slides feed into the deeper area. They can be closed off so that when there's competitions, it's not an issue, that kind of thing. So it would be more like that, but with a different design. So I'd like to see those things come together. I'm not in favor of an indoor pool. I think that in the long run, the energy costs for the city to keep it lit, to keep it cool, to keep it clean, I just think it's a lot. I would rather you take that money and make a 2-story parking structure for the park rather than put it on an indoor facility. It would be more advantageous for the community to feel like they can come down there. If this is going to be an economic driver, if we're really going to work at people that visit this pool because it's got a lot of amenities to it that are fun for families, they need a place to park. And as soon as word gets out there's nowhere to park and it's a big hassle, you're going to lose that viability for your economic downtown. So why not build a parking structure, something that makes sense for them? That would be what I would see in this footprint, but like I said, we haven't talked about it on the Parks Commission, so I don't have the schematics. Like, I don't even know if that would work based on what I'm seeing here. I'm just throwing out ideas. That's, you know, it's a great presentation. All the ideas are great, but I'm trying to figure out what meets the community needs from what I've heard. And so that's kind of the direction I would be leaning in. And, you know, with staffing, immediately right away I went to, then why wouldn't the city infuse the YMCA with funding so that they could help staff it for classes and so forth and so on, move it forward in that direction. I didn't see, in the pictures, there's no real good example of a shell area that I'm looking at, except for maybe option D, but it's a lot in their shallow areas. So I kind of look at it like, you don't have to have the Cadillac. I mean, you can have a little bit of a Corolla in there, and people will still be happy, right? I mean, because I see the Cadillac in a lot of these pictures, right? But I'm thinking, your kids are happy with, and parents, with a big enough area for the toddlers to be running around in, small slides, small toys, you know, the water dumping, you know, mechanism at the top that dumps every so often, and little slides for them to go on, and bridges and stairs and stuff for them to run around. That's like a playground equipment type of feel. And the parents can sit and watch their kids in that area. But then that graduates into a somewhat deeper area where you can do swimming lessons and so forth. And then you have your lanes connected to that and a whole other area, all separated by ropes, obviously, because they don't want kids just going wherever. But I mean, that's why I'm asking, because it feels like all that can be put in the footprint, but I'm not sure.
You're absolutely right. They all can be. And at this level, when we do the master plans, I like to say we're landing the spaceship. So all those components are in there. I mean, we did the Natadores facility, if you're familiar with that one in Mission Viejo, where Olympians train. Kids learn to swim. They also have some splash equipment. So we're familiar with those footprints. All these footprints are from various facilities. You're absolutely right. We want to, as we get closer and closer, that's when we start to look at that detail. So that's, once I know which option you want to go with, I can
Okay,
get into that level.
because I was looking at the summary of options, you know, you put in here and it just says 2 swim lanes. So I guess what I'm confused is
Two additional than what you have,
Additional.
yeah.
Two additional.
To a standard one.
to standard of,
How many swim lanes do we have on there? It's 25 meters, which is a competition swim pool. So
okay,
we actually get more lanes than you have now. So in your competition meets or any rec swim that you have now, we're actually growing the footprint
right,
to meet that industry standard.
got it. So I guess
I wasn't clear on my slide, that's my
Plus,
fault.
it's the little plush you can't see. Unless you
okay.
look up
I
on the
saw that,
screen.
well, mine is like a little faded.
Yeah, yeah.
Ms. Wentworth, we have to move on to the rest of
Okay.
the,
Sorry.
just want to make sure so I understand clearly. This will eventually go to parks. Okay,
Yeah, it will be here next month. I guess what I'm saying, is there an ability to combine option B and C?
The indoor?
Not the indoor, but
A
just
and,
the,
A and C.
sorry, B and C, A and C, yeah. Like,
We can do
That's what I'm not
whatever we're
seeing.
directed
Okay.
to, if there's another hybrid
Michelle,
option.
what do you, it is A and C. It takes A and then it enhances it.
okay,
Takes that large pool and then it adds all the other
I'm
features.
talking about the layout.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think the layout's something that you guys are gonna work on. I think we're just
Okay.
giving
So it just,
the idea of amenities and you guys decide where it goes.
alright, so like,
One thing you get to do.
okay. We need to move on to the other options.
What's that?
Or, I'm sorry, I think that there's more work to do, but it looks like the majority landed on C.
Thank you.
I
Okay.
can't.
Now let's talk about some skate parks.
All right. So the skate park elements and amenities, and I have two more options, the skate park and then we have the buildings as well too. So it's, but wait, there's more. The skate park area, we moved this around the site a lot, and now where we're at is down on the bottom of the map here. You can see on 6th Street, a lot for the visibility as well as for the combination of the plaza feeling. Traditional skate parks were of the 80s and 90s were the big bowls. You couldn't look across them. You had to go up to them to see down into them. We work with our skate park designers who are professional skateboarders, and this is what they do. They eat, sleep, breathe skate parks. So the team that helped us put this together, when we go through this, we looked at what this skate park might look like and be. What is it? Let's talk about crime prevention through environmental design. High visibility from 6th Street, major element there. making sure we can see across it, not just at skate park, but a plaza, something that has a nice look and feel to it, but is skatable to a lot of the skating community. So 2 options that we came up here. Really, the first one is a dedicated skate park. And skate park is a term commonly used. I like to use more of an all-wheel friendly park. So it's not just skateboarding anymore. It's scooters, it's wheelchairs, it's bicycles, it's everything. So when we work with our designers, it's actually the whole gamut, the whole range of wheeled sports or wheeled activities. I'm gonna throw strollers in there too, because I have little boys and they like to, you know, when they were younger, I'd push them around the stroller. So I never did the shopping cart. I won't say that on record. Option A there is a 20,000 square foot wheel-friendly facility. And then option B is another 20,000 square foot wheel-friendly facility. The difference between the two, the first one, both of them coming at 2.5 million. The first one has more of that fenced-in access controlled area. When we do our park designs, really what we're trying to do is take an environmental design component of your active recreation amenities to make sure that there's equitable access to everything by the entire community, whether you're walking a stroller or you're a dad pushing a stroller into the park, and skateboarding. So that way you can have a careful, controlled element of access between the 2 groups and amenities that anybody can come and play in. So when we design our skate parks, a skate plaza, you could have different zones. You can see the map on the top there, different color-coded areas where pedestrians can come in, where mom and dad can go in with their young son or daughter who want to learn to skateboard. So it's not a high-speed lane, but we look at different lanes and zoning. This skate park, this option A, has a fenced access control area around the perimeter of it to help kind of add that buffer between the 2. You can see a large plaza concourse area coming in around that area on the map too. You can see kind of some food truck areas there on the far left side of the map. So whatever our programmatic elements are around this skate plaza, this one we added the fence around it to keep a little bit more of a buffer. Option B takes those fences down and now we have more of an open plaza element. Both skate park designs are well lit, have those skate zones in them where there's queuing capabilities, where there's the thought on where kids get ready to go push the board, jump up, do a trick, and then land and move on. Those lanes that I'm using the term of actually start to create that pedestrian-friendly zone. So this one, having the fence down, we control the access points a little bit more with more landscaping, buffer materials, but it's still a plaza area where you can feel comfortable taking a younger kid in who's learning to skate into some of the lower skateboarding zones because of the design of the tricks or ability to do tricks is actually for different levels of skateboarders or scooter riders, or I've even seen rollerbladers. Yes, it's coming back. Rollerblades will be here once again. So as we go through this one, this second option here is a non-fenced in option, but it does still have that element to control the access and flow with more of a landscape planting design around the periphery.
Real quick, do you think that that landscaping design around the periphery would end up becoming part of the skate park though? 100%.
You got a good point. We've done a lot of skateboarding facilities and sometimes it's more of boulder structures. It's where people are gonna walk through. If we give people a path of travel where they can come in on their skateboard or come in walking, they'll take that 9 times out of 10. Some of those landscape areas might be taller trees, elements that have a narrow planter, but it has some cobble in it. Elements that's not just concrete walkways. So when I say landscape planters, I'm kind of using them interchangeably. But you're right, on that top picture there, you can see sometimes a lot of the parks we've done over so many years, we've had a lot of successful designs where certain types of plant material will survive. Plant material that has very thorny elements in it, some natal plum. I remember trimming those for my dad when I was a younger kid. Big thorns, I stayed out of them. So different types of plant material that we can put in there that will help establish that kind of buffer, but it's important to have those abilities to skateboard around them. And as we design them, and I'm sure everybody's here seen some skateboarding videos at one time or another, kids like to jump over stuff. Well, we don't put it in an area in the skateboard design to where it's not a preferred attraction to jump over. All the other preferred rides and elements are in, the flows are within the confines of the park. So when our skateboard designers look at it, they look at why is this not an attractive feature to climb through, walk through, jump over? And that's kind of the design that we put into it. So it might not just be shrubs. You can see in this area, it might be some palm trees that we have there. It might be a raised seat wall that we have on it to help kind of control the flow around an area rather than over it. But you're right, a lot of plant material does get trampled. And over time, we've learned some materials do work well, some materials don't work well. So we've got, I'm gonna share my scar tissue here. We've been through the gamut on a lot of them, but we've started to refine it such that we can kind of manage those areas a little bit better now.
Have you, as part of your team of people that help design skate parks, do you actually ask 11 and 12-year-old skaters?
Well,
Because what you're saying, all you're saying is the adult who's like, well, I gotta go to work tomorrow, I'm not gonna try that. But the 11 and 12-year-olds look at things and they're like, if I'm going fast enough, I can make that transition. So I'm kind of curious.
well, I think the person who beat Tony Hawk in the last competition was a 12-year-old girl. So you're right. They look at it and they go, I can do that. I'll be honest, I don't skateboard anymore. When I fall, my bones break.
Yep.
My two little boys do, and they bounce
bounce.
right back. They bounce back, and I'm jealous. So when we look at that, actually, our skateboard designers are skaters themselves. So they're in that community. They speak the language. They're riding with those kids. And one of actually Canton Russell, I'm going to give him a little bit of a head nod here too. His daughter skates with him, and she's a young little girl, and now she's getting older and older. The more times I tell the story, so he skates his parks with her. So it's not just what they've seen, but it's what they do as well too. So when our skateboard designers go through this, it's actually from their experience of all ages, because it's not age, it's ability. And just that Tony Hawk and, you know, I don't know the little girl's name. Does anybody remember it?
It's a Brazilian girl that is
Yeah.
like
So it's
crazy
not
good.
age,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's abilities.
Yep.
So you're absolutely right, and that's how they look at these designs.
Okay, well, we're getting short on time, so Wes.
Yeah, so I just had two questions. One, what does the +0 and +18 inches and +2 mean?
And I apologize, when we go through them with our skateboard designers, is they're actually looking at elevations.
Okay.
One elevation is at ground level with the surrounding walkway, one elevation is 18 inches above, so it's actually a ramp element. And this is how they can design them on just a plan view, rather than color codes. It actually means different
Perfect.
elevations there.
So my question is only, I like the plaza because it looks like it allows it to be more open, but I'm worried about the risk. I mean, as someone who went with my kids to the skate park, I don't know how many times a skateboard hit my shin or you know, in the arm
Ankle.
or in the head or, so I'm just worried if you create a walking area that people that aren't skateboarding, that they're necessarily maybe standing in it. I don't know how many times where my son said, Dad, what are you doing? Get out of the way. We're skating right there. I'm like, this is even outside of the park. So that's the only thing I'm really worried about. And then the overall depth, you know, we've had issues at that skate park with people hiding in there, especially, you know, their unhoused neighbors, and they go in there and they hide. I know you talked about lighting. I want to, you know, talk about that part of how deep is it going to be, how visible, and I, like I said, and then my only other concern is the risk of people that are traversing through the skate park and getting hurt.
Yep.
So, thanks.
I would need to see a little bit more as far as what some of these, your ideas are with discouraging it from becoming a grinding, you know, rod of some sort, or fencing or bench.
Yeah, I don't like the fencing part. I don't like.
And
fences.
again, I'd like our Parks and Rec Commission to vet a lot of this and make a recommendation to us based on all the pictures that you show them and the different options.
So as I understand, the actual details of this will be vetted through Parks and Rec and then through us. So we're just landing the ship, right? So this is,
We're landing.
so from this big, to be honest, I'm kind of indifferent, but I see this as an opportunity for us to engage our community. This would be a really cool poll. This would be a really cool, like online poll, in the same way that we did like name the park. Remember the mammoth? And asking our community to help us with these elements. The only thing I lean on is for safety is the fencing, just because I think I would probably be a little oblivious about where I'm supposed to be and where I shouldn't be. But more than anything, I see this as an opportunity to engage our community. So wherever we land, I'm fine with it.
And if you put a fence there, Tom's gonna climb over it anyways.
You can turn the camera off. My opinion's not popular. I would get rid of the skate park altogether.
Okay, thanks.
Or a pump track.
Popular.
It's not though. Anytime you go by the skate park, it's always the wrong element. It's always tagged with every gang out there, and and it's just not enjoyable. And it just invites an element that worsens City Park than it helps, so. I think there's other parks that, like Santiago, that a skate park is advantageous, but I don't think City Park is the fit for a skate park.
The only thing I'll say on that, I mean, is with the program we'll be doing at the park, a lot of that activity will be deterred. I know, I mean.
You really wanna say it, Moses? Cause when we build this
Yeah.
thing, I'm gonna call you.
Oh, I know, I'll be right
Hey,
there.
dude.
I'll be spending the night there, but.
And I forgot one thing, just, is there a way to incorporate a pump track or some version of that as a, I don't know, I know they don't typically go together, but
We're just worried
That's
about
Yeah,
I know.
that. You can't have a pump track and no depth.
Listen, don't be making, that's your problem, you guys have to figure that out.
So, I agree, I was kind of bummed that the pump track didn't make the final, that needs to happen in the city of Corona somewhere. But that being said, I would like to do anything, I don't land on either one of these options, other than to say, I would like to do everything that I can to discourage people from walking anywhere near the skate park. You, as a dad, as a kid who rode a skateboard, who spent time at our skate parks, it's no place for pedestrians. It causes nothing but problems because 11 and 12-year-old kids who are actively thinking to figure out ways to jump over the thing that you don't want them to jump over inadvertently are gonna, land a skateboard in somebody's picnic or something that's going on there. So I want to discourage all, walking in the skate park. It should be for people that are actively skating because they don't play well with each other. So that's my opinion. I think that you guys are gonna come up with a great design. I concur with Councilmember Casillas. Let's get the community involved. Let's find a bunch of 11, 12, and 13-year-olds and ask them what they really want.
An 11, 12-year-old wanted to jump off the roof,
Yeah.
try and skateboard from one, so I don't know
Yeah.
if I wanna ask them how many roofs they wanna jump off
Well,
of.
You
that's
give them options,
Yeah,
right?
that-
You're like,
that's-
roof is not an option.
That's kind of what,
These are.
yeah.
I have my whole, the theory of the more testosterone you put in them together, that they ended up doing, their overall IQ ends up being divided by how many
100%.
there are.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm,
Ask them, why are you jumping off the roof? They go, I don't know.
'cause it's cool. Recognizing that you guys are gonna get this again soon and being cognizant of time, do you have any comments that you wanted to?
Yeah, four things, pardon me. I think we need to design this with CEPTED in mind, the crime prevention through environmental design. I'll take care of Tom Richard's point of view. And also, in Tony's point of view, I agree with what you just talked about. But we need to, we've had several people come to our commission meetings last several months. And they're part of this group of people that needed to be a part of the actual design process. And they're the ones that will be using this, that park facility with their kids. And they're adults themselves. And they've been coming and been vocalizing their concerns and needs and desires for things we talked about today. Skateboarders, inline bicycles and things of that sort. And also, I don't know offhand what the current size of the skateboard park there is now. And it may be close to 20,000 square feet, but we jumped from that and went up to 20,000 square feet or went down